What happens when a curvy black woman with nothing to lose crashes into the life of Seoul's most dangerous crime prince? When one drunken night leads to waking up in a tattooed stranger's bed. When the man who controls the underworld decides you're the only thing he can't live without. This is a story of fire meeting ice. Of a woman who thought love had forgotten her, and a man who thought love was just a weakness. Of bullets, betrayal, and a love so fierce it could heal even the darkest soul. If you're ready for a tale that'll have your heart racing and your emotions all over the place, then you're in the right spot. Hit that like button, smash subscribe, and turn on notifications because this story, it's about to take you on a wild ride you won't forget. Let's dive in. The pounding in her skull arrived before her eyes opened. Maya's consciousness swam upward through fog. Every muscle ached with confusion. Strange scents flooded her senses next. Expensive sandalwood, aged cognac, and Italian leather that whispered danger. Her face pressed against something firm, warm, alive. She raised her head inch by careful inch. Then her world tilted sideways. Hey there, friend. Welcome back to another captivating story. If you're new here, please go ahead and like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss our next incredible tale. Her generous curves were sprawled across the torso of a man whose flesh was painted in midnight ink. Complex tattoos wound up his forearms, across his throat, vanishing beneath silk fabric. His hand stayed locked around her waist possessively, even unconscious, holding her captive. She inhaled sharply, clutching expensive sheets to her chest. Lord, what have I done? She whispered. She jerked upright too quickly, her box braids whipping around, terror coursing through her. And there he was. The man Seoul's underworld spoke about in fearful whispers. Tae, 29, destined heir to the city's deadliest crime syndicate. Ruthless, strategic, always wearing designer streetwear that fooled people into lowering their guard. Now he occupied the bed beside her. Sleep good. Gorgeous? His voice emerged rough from slumber, but laced with entertainment. One eye cracked open lazily, mouth curving into that smirk that probably sent most people fleeing. Maya's throat went bone dry. Her mind scrambled backward through last night's events. Strobe lights flashing, bass vibrating her bones, her laughter masking devastation. Too many cocktails, dancing recklessly while the crowd cheered, then scattered images. His face cutting through the mob, tattoos glowing under neon, his stare pinning her like captured prey, and then blackness. She gripped the fabric tighter. Did something happen? Oh God, please tell me we didn't. Tae chuckled deeply, dragging fingers through his disheveled black hair. If you're drawing blanks, then you were way more drunk than I calculated. Her eyes stretched wide. Wait, so he stretched languidly, predatory grace in every movement, ink shifting across muscle. Nothing went down unless sobbing on my shoulder about your ex while declaring all men worthless counts. Maya wanted the earth to swallow her whole. She buried her face in both palms. Please say you're messing with me. He sat upright beside her, his cologne attacking her defenses. I've listened to dying enemies confess. Yours was way more interesting, though the snoring caught me off guard. Her head snapped toward him, horrified. I absolutely do not snore. Oh, you definitely do. Plus you drooled right here. He tapped his bare chest with theatrical disgust. This cost more than your monthly salary. You're in debt. Despite her humiliation, Maya laughed unsteadily. She despised how effortlessly he cracked her armor. She hated even more how her body reacted to his nearness. Snatching her clutch from the floor, she stood shakily. This never occurred. You and me? Never happened. Understood? Crystal. His smirk intensified. Except you're walking out wearing my clothes. She glanced down and nearly collapsed. His oversized black tee-drowned her frame. Her sequined mini-skirt lay abandoned on a chair. She ripped the shirt off, wrestled back into her outfit, and charged toward the exit. Don't you dare come to my club again, she snapped. Oh, sweetheart. His voice tracked her like smoke, silky and lethal. You'll absolutely be seeing me real soon. Her heartbeat thundered as she slammed the door. Outside, Seoul's morning atmosphere slapped her face, but couldn't extinguish the inferno burning within. Maya, The voluptuous black hostess men desired but never committed to had just awakened tangled with the city's most feared criminal. She convinced herself it was an error. One night of terrible judgment. But deep in her core, she understood Tay's words were a vow. Their narrative was just beginning. Tay wasn't someone who lost concentration. $1 million deals could collapse. Rivals could scheme his assassination and he'd stay frozen steel, flawlessly composed. But for the first time in ages, his brain refused obedience. Maya, that woman, that loud, curvaceous, blazing tempest who'd snored on his chest like she owned it. He assured himself it was simple attraction. Men constantly pursued her figure, but it ran deeper than that. It was her spirit, how she'd stormed from his sweet fearless, like he wasn't Soul's most dangerous heir. No woman had ever dismissed him that way, and he loathed how desperately he craved her to do it again. Maya, meanwhile, dove back into her realm of strobe lights and deafening music. She squeezed into a tight bronze dress highlighting every curve, stilettos clicking across the club floor. Men gawked, women gossiped, but her smile stayed mechanical. Behind every giggle hid suffocating isolation. Her coworker nudged her at the bar. "Babe, you alright? You seem shaken." Maya sipped her cocktail, mumbling, "Worse." I woke up plastered against a gangster's chest. Her coworker's eyes exploded. "Girl, what? Don't even." She waved dismissively. "I'm erasing it from existence." But as she spoke those words, her gaze drifted toward the entrance and stopped cold. There he stood. Tay sauntered into the club like he commanded every molecule. Tattoos visible beneath his sleeveless designer top, distressed black jeans, platinum chains reflecting the lights. His eyes swept the space until landing on her. Maya's stomach somersaulted. "Oh, absolutely not," she hissed. He smirked like he'd heard her across the distance. Minutes passed, then he materialized at her side, leaning casually against the bar, ignoring every woman attempting to capture his attention. "Gorgeous," he drawled. "You ran quick." "Not quick enough, apparently." She glared, clutching her tray. "Didn't I explicitly tell you to stay gone? And didn't I tell you?" He leaned nearer, his scent drowning her senses. "That I'd be seeing you again real soon." She rolled her eyes dramatically. "You're not remotely my type." He raised one eyebrow. "Your type? Let me predict. Broke dudes who promise forever then vanish after 14 days. Her jaw tightened. That struck too close. "You don't know a thing about me." "I know plenty." His expression softened briefly, surprisingly. "You're lonely. You drink to forget. You laugh loud so nobody notices you're shattering." Her heart stumbled. She covered it with sass. "Wow. Congrats, Detective Tay. Want a medal or a cupcake?" He grinned. "Cupcake. Red velvet, preferably." She stared at him, then erupted into authentic laughter. "You're absolutely ridiculous. Yet here you remain, still engaging with me." From that evening forward, Tay kept materializing. Every single night, he'd glide into the club, sometimes solo, sometimes with his entourage, always monitoring her. He tipped her outrageously, teased her until she was flustered, and never departed until confirming no intoxicated patron crossed boundaries with her. "Why are you stalking me?" She demanded one evening, hands planted on her hips, dress shimmering under the lights. He reclined in the VIP area, swirling cognac. "Stalking? Nah. Protecting my investment." "What investment?" "You." Her mouth dropped open. "Excuse me? You're too valuable wasting energy serving cocktails to sweaty executives. You belong somewhere elevated." She snorted. "And let me guess, that somewhere is next to you." He grinned wolfishly. "Intelligent woman." She scoffed and spun away, but her pulse was sprinting. Nobody had ever observed her the way he did, like she wasn't merely a body, but an enigma he needed to decode. Later that evening, backstage, she discovered a box waiting. Inside were designer pumps, sparkling and flawless. A note tucked inside read, "For the gorgeous one, don't run too far. T." She bit her lip, torn between frustration and strange warmth spreading through her ribcage. "Lord have mercy," she whispered, shaking her head. "This man is pure chaos." But deep down, she already recognized Chaos had never looked this attractive. And while Maya attempted pushing him away with her attitude in flames, Tay was tumbling into something he'd never believed possible. Obsession. The kind that money, narcotics, and authority couldn't remedy. And he absolutely wasn't letting her escape. The club lights throbbed, but Maya's energy was bleaker than any darkness. She'd spent weeks evading Tay like some twisted chase. Every night he materialized, tattoos gleaming, cognac in hand, eyes fixed on her. She hated how it thrilled her. She hated more how her colleagues whispered, "Girl, that crime prince is obsessed with you. Be cautious, Maya. He doesn't mess around. Maybe he'll marry you, and you'll leave this grind." She laughed it away, but internally it rattled her. Men always craved her body. Nobody ever wanted her soul. She wouldn't stumble into another trap, not even his. But one Saturday night, the trap closed anyway. She'd just finished serving a rowdy bachelor party when the manager summoned her to the back office. His face looked strained, fingers fidgeting anxiously. "Maya, I'm truly sorry." Her stomach plummeted. "Sorry for what? You're done here." She blinked. "What do you mean done? I'm your top hostess. Customers specifically request me." The manager avoided her gaze. "Orders from above. Don't complicate this. Above you?" Silence. Her brain locked onto one name, one man. "You cannot be serious." She stormed from the office, heels hammering the floor like bullets. And predictably, there he sat. Tay sprawled in the VIP booth like royalty, surrounded by bodyguards, but watching only her. "You?" she hissed, marching straight toward him. "What did you do?" He raised his eyebrows innocently. "Me? I'm simply here enjoying the vibe. Stop playing games." "You got me fired, didn't you?" The corner of his mouth lifted. "Potentially." Her voice climbed. "Do you realize how hard I grind? This job covers my rent. Who granted you that authority?" "I granted myself that authority." He leaned forward, voice sharp as glass. "Because watching you smile at wasted idiots every night was driving me insane." Maya's jaw fell open. "Driving you insane? You're delusional. You can't just obliterate people's lives because your fragile ego gets threatened." He chuckled darkly. "Fragile? Gorgeous? If my ego was fragile, half the city would be ashes right now." "Maybe it should be." She fired back, her accent thickening with fury. The room went silent. His men shifted uncomfortably, unaccustomed to anyone raising their voice at their boss. But Tay looked energized, like her fire was oxygen he'd been suffocating without. "You're breathtaking when you're angry," he said quietly. She threw her hands up. "Oh my God, you're impossible. And you're unemployed," he smirked. "Which means you finally have time to hear my proposition." Her eyes narrowed. "Proposition? Work for me." Maya laughed bitterly. "What? As your personal maid?" "Hard pass." "No." His gaze scorched into hers. "As the only woman I trust beside me." Her heart hammered. She wanted to scream, to slap him, to storm out. But instead, she found herself whispering, "Why me?" For once, his smirk vanished. He leaned back, exhaling heavily. "Because everyone else wants my fortune, my power, or my death. You don't care who I am. You challenge me, confront me, make me feel." He paused, searching, human. Maya's throat constricted. She hated how her defenses weakened. She hated that he was dismantling her walls without permission. So she did what came naturally, masked it with attitude. "Well, congratulations. You've officially destroyed my livelihood and left me broke. Do I get a trophy for that?" He grinned again. "Yes. A penthouse." Her jaw dropped. "A what?" "Penthouse. Han Riverview. Walk-in closet larger than this entire club storage room." She stared at him like he'd lost his mind. "You think you can just purchase me?" "No." His eyes softened genuinely. "I think I can protect you." Something fractured inside her at those words. Nobody had ever spoken them before. Nobody had ever meant them. But Maya wasn't ready to surrender. Not yet. "Listen, Tay." She jabbed a finger into his tattooed chest. "I don't need your penthouse. I don't need your money, and I definitely don't need you." He caught her hand gently, pressing it against his chest where his heartbeat was steady, but his eyes were vulnerable. Maybe not, but I need you. Her breath caught. For once, she had no response. That night, she departed the club jobless, planless, and clueless why her heart was racing. But one thing was obvious. Tay had just pulled her into his perilous world, and part of her wasn't certain if she wanted freedom. The first time Maya entered Tay's penthouse, she thought she'd stepped into a luxury magazine. Floor-to-ceiling glass walls displayed the Han River glowing beneath city lights. Marble floors gleamed beneath her heels. Expensive artwork hung casually like afterthoughts. The place screamed wealth but felt sterile, like a showroom instead of a sanctuary. Wow, she muttered, dropping her bag on the leather sofa. So this is where the devil sleeps. Behind her, Tay chuckled, tossing his keys on the granite counter. Flattered you consider me the devil. He wishes he had my fashion sense. She rolled her eyes. Your ego needs its own continent. But her sarcasm died when her gaze landed on the glass table. Empty cognac bottles, crushed cigarette packs, and a small vial with white powder residue clinging inside. Her heart plummeted hard. Oh, hell no, she whispered, picking it up. You're using this garbage. He stiffened instantly. Put that down, gorgeous. Her nostrils flared. Are you out of your mind? No wonder you're constantly on edge and wired. You're killing yourself. Don't lecture me, he snapped, snatching the vial from her grip. You don't comprehend what it requires to survive my reality. Maybe not, she shot back, planting her hands on her hips. But I recognize self-destruction when I witness it. My cousin back home lost everything to this poison. You think it makes you powerful, but it just makes you a slave. Her words hung heavy between them. For a moment, his hardened mask cracked slightly, but then he turned away, pouring himself a drink instead. Why do you even care, Maya? He asked quietly. She hesitated. Why did she? He was dangerous, merciless, everything she should flee from. But seeing him like this, drowning in toxins, made her chest ache in ways she couldn't explain. Because somebody has to, she whispered. That night she refused to leave. Instead, she actually cooked in his pristine kitchen that looked untouched by human activity. She tied her braids up, threw on his oversized hoodie, and created jollof rice and grilled chicken with whatever ingredients she scavenged. When Tay walked in, he froze completely. What are you doing? She stirred the pot like she owned the space. Cooking. Obviously. Nobody cooks here. My private chef delivers meals. Your chef delivers trash. Look at these pathetic seasonings. Y'all Koreans don't know about real flavor. She tossed spices dramatically into the pot. He leaned against the counter, amused despite himself. You're insane. And you're malnourished. Sit down. For the first time in years, Tay obeyed someone. They ate together at his massive dining table. He took one bite and stared at her. What is this sorcery? She smirked. You like it? He took another bite, then another, and suddenly Seoul's feared crime prince was devouring food like a starving teenager. Maya grinned smugly. That's what I thought. You're welcome. For the first time, he laughed genuinely. A real laugh, unguarded and raw. It startled them both. But the sweetness didn't last long. 2 nights later, Tay brought her to a meeting. They drove in his black Mercedes to an abandoned warehouse at Seoul's outskirts. Stay close, he murmured, handing her a jacket to cover her glittery dress. Inside, men in dark suits sat around a long table, cigarettes burning, eyes lethal. The atmosphere suffocated with tension. Maya felt every pair of eyes linger on her. She gripped Tay's arm tighter. Who's the girl? One man sneered. Tay's gaze went glacial. She's mine. Entertain that thought, and lose your hand. Maya's heart stumbled at those words. Not just the possessiveness, but the absolute command in his tone. The meeting exploded into shouting about shipments and territories, accusations of treachery flying, and then gunshots shattered the atmosphere. Before she could scream, Tay pulled her behind him, shielding her body completely. His men returned fire, chaos erupting throughout the warehouse. Maya trembled, nails digging into his arm, but he never flinched once. When the smoke cleared, enemies lay wounded or dead, his men standing victorious. He turned to her, brushing a braid from her damp forehead. You see now, he murmured. This is my reality. Dark, brutal, unforgiving. She swallowed hard, staring into his fierce eyes. Then let me be your light. For a moment, he couldn't breathe. Nobody had ever said that to him. Nobody had ever wanted to stand in his darkness, willingly. And right there in that shattered warehouse, with smoke still curling in the atmosphere, Tay realized Maya wasn't just another woman. She was the one thing he didn't know he'd been searching for. Back at the penthouse, he sat on the sofa, shirt stained with blood and gunpowder. Silent, Maya knelt before him, gently wiping the cut on his jaw with a damp cloth. You don't have to carry all this alone, you know, she said softly. His eyes locked on hers. And who else would carry it with me? Me, she whispered. If you'll let me. He stared at her, heart pounding, walls crumbling brick by brick. For the first time, Tay wasn't the ruthless crime prince. He was just a scarred man who'd forgotten what tenderness felt like. And for the first time, he believed maybe, just maybe, someone could actually love him. Anyway, the storm arrived without warning. Maya had just finished organizing Tay's closet, designer clothes that smelled faintly of smoke and expensive cologne, when she heard him shouting in the living room. His voice, usually controlled and measured, now cracked with fury. You betrayed me. Her heart lurched. She rushed out and found Tay gripping his younger brother by the collar, slamming him against the wall. Two of his men stood frozen, uncertain whether to intervene. The brother, sweat streaming down his face, stammered desperately. It wasn't me, Hyung.
Lies.
Tay's voice thundered. You leaked the shipment location. You orchestrated the ambush. Men died because of you. Maya's stomach clenched. She remembered that night vividly. The gunfire, the chaos, how he'd used his body as her shield. And now betrayal wore a familiar face. Family. Tay spat bitterly, releasing him. Always after my empire. Always trying to bury me. His brother scrambled away as Tay collapsed onto the couch, burying his face in his hands. For once, Seoul's ruthless prince looked small, defeated, human. Maya approached quietly, sitting beside him. She didn't speak immediately. She simply reached out, her fingers brushing his knuckles gently. He exhaled shakily. Why are you still here, gorgeous? You've witnessed my world up close. You've seen the blood, the betrayal. I should have frightened you away by now. Her accent curled softly through her words. Maybe I like being a little scared. Keeps life spicy. He peeked at her, startled. She smirked faintly. Keeps my heart pumping. He laughed, a broken, beautiful sound. But before he could respond, the windows exploded. Gunfire erupted. The penthouse descended into chaos. Glass sprayed like rainfall. Bullets tearing through walls. Tay tackled Maya to the floor, covering her completely with his body. His men dove for cover, returning fire immediately. Stay down, he barked, voice fierce with command. But Maya's eyes caught something terrifying. A red laser crawling across Tay's chest, tracking toward his heart. Her pulse spiked violently. No, she screamed, shoving him hard just as the shot rang out. The bullet grazed her shoulder instead, white-hot pains searing through her. She bit back a scream. Tay's eyes went wild when he saw blood blooming across her sleeve.
Maya.
His voice cracked completely. He dragged her behind the couch, fury blazing in his eyes. His men finished off the attackers, silence falling except for the ringing in her ears. Tay's hands trembled as he pressed cloth to her wound. Why would you do that? Why would you take a bullet for me? She winced but locked eyes with him. Because you're worth saving, Tay. His breath caught. He stared at her like she was something impossible, something sacred. I've killed people. I've destroyed lives. I don't deserve, shut up. She grabbed his collar with her good hand, pulling him closer. You deserve love, and I'm giving it to you whether you like it or not. For a moment, he couldn't breathe. His entire life, the drugs, the violence, the betrayals, it all crashed against the one thing he never thought he'd have. Someone who wanted him. Not his power, not his wealth, just him. And then he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate, fierce, a storm colliding with wildfire. She kissed him back, pouring every ounce of her pain and her promise into him. When they broke apart, breathless, he whispered against her lips, "I love you, gorgeous." For the first time in my life, I actually love someone. Tears stung her eyes. "Took you long enough, crime boy." He laughed, choked and messy, pressing his forehead to hers. "You're crazy. And you're mine," she whispered back. Weeks later, Sol still whispered about the ambush, about how Tay eliminated his enemies in one brutal night. But the man himself was different now. He was sober. The vials of white powder were gone, destroyed by his own hands. The cognac bottles collected dust. His men were shocked, speechless. Their boss, once addicted to chaos, now spent nights at the table eating Maya's cooking or laughing at her ridiculous stories about back home. "Imagine you at carnival," she teased one night, moving her hips playfully. He smirked. "Imagine you not constantly stealing my hoodies." "That's my favorite one. Relax. I look better in it than you do anyway." Their banter filled the penthouse with warmth money could never buy. And for the first time in his life, Tay wasn't just surviving day to day. He was living. Because in a world of blood and betrayal, Maya had given him the one thing he thought impossible, healing. And she had found the one thing she thought she'd never have, love. Hello, beautiful souls. In this story, we discovered that even the darkest hearts can find healing when they're truly loved. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this message.